Welcome to this webinar produced by the European Internet Inclusion Initiative, the EIII. The EIII is co-funded under the EU 7th Framework Programme, Grant Agreement number 609667. This is the third in a series of 3 webinars where we look at different geographical regions. My name is Kim Andreasen. I'm a Managing Director of DACA Advisory, a consultancy. With me here today is Mikael Snapprud from Tingtun, the lead organization in the EIII consortium.
Hello.
And the guest of honor today is Mr. Jaroslav Ponder, the strategy and policy advisor at the International Telecommunication Union and also the regional coordinator for Europe. We're very pleased to have Jaroslav here with us today to provide not only European perspective on inclusion, but also a global one and how it applies to Europe.
Hello. Thank you very much for the invitation.
So Jaroslav, let me talk to you first. Can you talk a little bit about the work that the ITU is doing in terms of inclusiveness, in terms of web accessibility and even broader than that?
Thank you very much. The International Telecommunication Union is the UN specialized agency focusing on the ICTs. And in our opinion, as the Secretariat, which conveys also the feelings of our membership, the accessibility is an issue which is going up on the agenda. In 2014, during the ITU Plenipotentiary Conference, the member states agreed upon the Connect 2020 agenda, where the set of the targets have been set, including one of the targets challenging all countries and to create enabling environment fostering and development of the accessible ICTs and making the change in this field. This brings us to the action and to the question what we have to do in order to change the things at the policy level, but also at the grassroots level. This is the reason why the ITU recently developed the ICT Accessible Policy Model report, which became our reference point for the working with the member states and with the stakeholders on addressing diverse issues related to the accessibility going through the diverse types of the technologies. And one of those technologies is, of course, the web accessibility. However, as the International Union and dealing with the policymakers, regulators, and the administrations of the countries, we have the clear message that the start of the work needs to come from the policymakers and that have to pick up the accessibility and put on the top of the agenda of their governments and try to find a way to create the national accessibility policies focusing on the ICTs and making the use of ICTs for better life of already now almost billions.
Terrific, thank you Jaroslav, that's a great overview. So Mikael, I'll turn to you and ask, how does the EIII project fit in and what can policymakers get out of it?
I think the main contribution we can have from the project in this regard will be the information that can be gathered by the results from the EIII project. The tools that has been developed, they are able to cover a larger number of websites and also a good set of tests. And this will enable a collection of data that can inform the policymakers and give them a background for shaping their policies over time, and perhaps also to design some learning programs and also direct user testing.
If I can just add very shortly, we would like to congratulate to your results. And this what was demonstrated today during the workshop. It was very impressive and very promising for the future, because this is real applied work in the field of the accessibility, which provide the possibility of developing the policies which are evidence-based.
We're here in Brussels today in September 2015, and Mikael, earlier today you showed us preliminary benchmarking results from the EIII tool. So I want to look towards the future now And so what are sort of the next steps for the EIII project specifically, and then also for web accessibility more broadly?
Yeah, for the EIII project, it is coming technically to an end, but we have a lot of additional ideas and ambitions to continue this work. So we will do what is possible to do to find ways to make it sustainable. We already have some clients who have signed up for services dealing with the results coming out of the project. In terms of accessibility development in Europe, I think we're entering a new phase. I actually think that the directive has created so much attention, the proposed directive at the moment, that it is a clear policy issue. And the directive is also discussing how to get this overview, and clearly then something like the outcomes of the project can actually contribute to get this overview. And since these results are open source, they're also accountable in the sense that people can go in and say, how is this actually done? Are these people doing the tests in a good way? And if not, we would then be open for discussing how to fix it and improve it.
Which touches a little bit on what Jaroslav was talking about. It needs to be a multi-stakeholder approach, whereas the private sector, individual users, non-profits, research organizations. And so Jaroslav, when you're thinking about the future web accessibility from an ITU perspective, what are some of the concrete plans you have in place, and how are you going to build up this program, and where do you see this all going?
Yes, I can just draw attention to this, what we are trying to do at the regional initiative level. And one of the items where we have identified as the potential barrier is building the capacity at the level of the procurers. I think we are dealing here in terms of the web accessibility with the attempt of making the web content more accessible and approachable, but mainly focusing on the public services. And in many cases of the many governments and public organizations, these are those services which are procured. So if we are not addressing this issue from the beginning and training those who are really with hands-on approach procuring the services, will not be able to make the change. This is the reason why we have recently developed the online training, which we made available for free to all Europeans, taking into account the European directives and regulation. And our belief is that this could be a significant step in case we are getting the right people built with the right capacity and the understanding of the challenge, not treating this as one of the obligations, but identifying themselves with making the world better.
Great. I want to thank Mikkel, who has been participating in all 3 webinars, and thank our guest of honor for the day, Jaroslav Ponder from the ITU. This concludes our webinar series.